leave parental, so they don't have to worry about that suddenly happening. And of course, your option after close to the 6 months being over is to request additional time. But then at that point, it really is up to management to say, okay, you know, I'm willing to give you that. But at least it guarantees 6 months.
Great. Thank you, Joanne. And our last bullet point for under new benefits and new language is the language on probationary extension for legal research unit staff attorneys. This is actually just a resuscitation of a letter of understanding that we currently already have in its current practice for those staff attorneys in that unit who are serving a longer probationary period compared to other SEMA represented employees. There's actually no substantive change, but it is a language update that we are adding into the MOU. Okay. Take it away to our takeaways.
Okay, so we do have one takeaway to cover in the contract, and that is on page 7. If you're following along with the larger document, in the shorter document, it's on the very last page, on page 5 for the summary. So this is under retiree health benefits. So as a reminder, this applies if you are a more senior employee that would benefit from the retiree health plan. If you're in the group that does not benefit from that, those hired after September 1, 2017, then you're receiving a cash payment because you can't participate in the retiree health plan. So it's you will receive an increase. Right now you're contributing $22.50. Instead, you will be contributing $35. So this is the takeaway that exists in the contract. Some employers refer to this as OPEB, other post-employment benefits, but very specifically, it's if you are participating in the retiree health benefit plan, then you are going to be paying an additional dollar amount here, totaling $35 per biweekly pay period. And so I think we were quite successful in limiting the takeaways to that. I would characterize while it's not listed, 2 member priorities was to not pay more for pension and not pay more for the normal healthcare plan, which we did achieve. There's no language there's no language changes, so you're not going to see that reflected in this. I do want to remind everyone that I can talk a little bit about the voting schedule, and then we'll take if there are additional questions. I do want to highlight for everybody that this does have a unanimous recommended yes vote from staff and the negotiations team, again, given the context of what the economics of the employer are right now. Anything else you all wanted to add before I go into the voting timelines? Okay, so our bylaws require that we give you a 5-day calendar day notice to vote. So nobody's voting today, right? We will be providing that later today. An email will go out to all of you noticing that this constitutes your five-day vote. Notice, and it will link to the website that we just shared with you where all the documentation is. So it's not going to be a blind vote. We'll set up an electronic vote and voting will then be able to commence on the 23rd. I haven't yet finalized with the negotiations team how long we want to allow you to vote. The bylaws are silent on that. It could just be 1 day, but we found that more people will vote if there's a longer period. So usually we give 3, 4, 5, maybe even a week days to vote. So you can anticipate that. Typically, you see 60-70% of the people who are going to vote, maybe even 80%, just vote when the email notification comes out. Then we send a couple of reminders and the stragglers vote. Because you're at the court, you all are notable in that you have a 90% membership rate, which is incredibly high, but you also have typically a 90% voting rate, which is unheard of. Our other units have on a good day, 60 or 70% voting rate. So you all are doing a phenomenal job in terms of participation vote. I'm looking online and I don't see any additional questions, but if people online want additional questions, you can. Otherwise, people in the room. Yes, right here, please. Tell Joanne what I want to vote and she wants to something like that. So no, the bylaws disallow, that's called proxy voting. The bylaws disallow proxy voting, but if you have email access, you will be able to vote. So this will be an electronic ballot like it was last time. So hopefully you're in a place that has internet connectivity. So all you would have to do is log in and you can cast your ballot electronically. We will be using SurveyMonkey. So everybody knows there's a feature in SurveyMonkey that has a unique token ID. So what that means is each email address will be issued one token. And once that token is consumed, that email address cannot vote again, right? So your vote is blind. We don't know how that email address voted, but we know that it was issued a token and that token was consumed. If for some reason, I don't know what, your kid opens your work email or something and votes for you, or you leave it open and you say, hey, I tried to log in and I can't vote, email us and we'll be able to zero out whatever that token voted and give you a fresh one and you can revote. Usually there's 3 or 4 people that have that kind of a problem. Also, if you don't have access to your email, you can contact us again. We'll provide this all in the body of the voting and the notification. And you can say, hey, can you email it to my personal email address? And as long as it's coming from your email address on record, we'll cancel that token and issue a new one to your whatever, your Hotmail account or whatever it is that you want the notifications.
I've got a question, Zeb.
Yes, please, Brandon.
So, regarding the management leave increase, how does that work mechanically in the sense that when you turn 15 years, let's say it happens at the end of the year after our usual, June, July flip over, do you get like some kind of prorated management leave, or do you have to wait an additional year before it actually benefits you?
So it would trigger the same way and I know this question came up before when we first implemented management leave. It fires the same way the existing management leave does. And I don't remember if we settled on it immediately goes up or if it's prorated. So let me consult that. While I'm looking that up, I see there's another question about adding telework positions. Brittany, do you want to unmute and ask that question while I'm looking up the management leave? Thank you, page 18.
It actually isn't my question, Zeb. Someone put it in the chat above under Lawrence's response. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. I'm just researching the management leave question.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Chandrika. I'm sorry I missed out when you were talking about the telework. I had to field a call from the subcontractor. So can you kindly summarize about the telework section?
Sure. So the telework program has remained largely unchanged with the exception of the addition of certain classifications, namely being the senior accountant, the mediator, the senior mediator, and the supervising probate investigator. The term of the actual telework program has been extended to run concurrently with this current MOU.
Thank
You can find, yes, and of course, with the side letter of agreements, you can find those redlined side letter of agreements under the overall tentative agreement right after page 31, 32. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have an answer for you, Brandon, on the management leave question. Because this is my interpretation of it, because the management leave is credited, or you can think about it like loaded, if you will, into the system at the beginning of each fiscal year, that's when it would be loaded. So if you became eligible mid-year, you would not get a prorated version. You'd become eligible to receive it. And then the next fiscal year, you'd receive the full 8 hours.
Got it. Thank you.
It's a good question and one that's not explicitly called out in the language. But it's something that as we're perfecting the language with the court, I'll certainly ask about. Because obviously it would be to me, it would be beneficial if you could get some kind of partial credit if it was mid-year.
That's what they do for blue collars.
Yes, and that's correct. We settled that. I don't remember how long ago. I want to say 8 years ago or so, because it came up. Do they have to wait the full year? Okay, any other questions, either online or in the room? No, okay,
One
any
thing- one-
closing
yeah,
remarks?
I
Yeah,
just wanted to add one thing. For those of you that are interested, to be more active with SEMA, we're always welcoming new participants in the Court Advisory Council. So again, if this type of activity is something that interests you, or you feel you want to have a little bit more input over the destiny of your salary and benefits, we more than welcome you to participate in the Court Advisory Council. And you could reach out to any one of us for some additional information.
okay, seeing no more questions, one thing before, oh, nope, your hand wasn't up. Something that I want to add is that we will have, the recording. I think this was a good meeting with good questions. So, the recording of this will be posted to the, SEMA YouTube page. And again, in what we send out there'll be a link back to that. So feel free to share it with people who maybe weren't able to attend today's meeting. We haven't scheduled yet, but it is my intent, I don't know if that's other people's intent, to have one more meeting before we kick off the voting. But I'll leave that up to you all, if you think that's something that is necessary. So I don't know if you have any comments. Okay, well, we'll let you know if we do. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone who was online. I'm stopping the recording now.